Welcome everyone to 3 critical IEP mistakes that parents and teachers can fix right now, and the first step to becoming a Master IEP Coach. I'm going to tell you right away that I have an extremely unpopular opinion about special education. There are a lot of people that are working really hard to get special education back to where it used to be before we had all of the crisis in 2020, and I don't want that. I don't want to go back to the way that things used to be. I want things to be better. So if you want things to be better than they ever have been in the past in special education, then you've found the right place. For those of you that don't know, I'm Catherine Witcher, and I'm a special needs sibling. My brother is 43 with Down syndrome. If you think about that, he's actually the first fully educated generation of adults with disabilities. So I've been able to see the system from a family point of view for a really long time. I'm also a former special education teacher. For the last 20 years, I've been working for you, for parents, teachers, admins, and therapists, anybody who sits at an IEP table who wants to make things different. I've been called an advocate in the past, but I don't like to use that word because a lot of times in special education, we think as advocates of those who've put on armor and go to fight. And that's not what we're going to do today either. We're going to talk about strategies and different just tactics that you need to not slide backwards and go back to how special education used to be, but actually move forward. Who's up for that? Who's ready to go forward? I'll tell you right now, if you are live, I'm right here with you. I want you to go ahead and put in the comments that you are all in, that you're ready. You can tell me where you are watching from. I want to know that you're here. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and leave those comments too. I'll be back to see them and to connect with you. Because if we're going to work together and make special education better, I got to get to know you. We got to talk about some real life strategies that we need. And we have to be all starting from the same place. So what I mean by that is there is a purpose and findings of IDEA law, which is the law that governs an IEP. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you where to look. I'm not giving you any, legal advice, but I'm sure going to tell you what needs to happen in special education and how it doesn't have to be as hard as so many people think that it has to be. Reem, I can see you there from Denver, Colorado. It's great to have you here. So I would like to share with you, in case you don't already know, the purpose and findings of IDEA law, and I'm going to go through it in about 30 seconds. So the purpose and findings of IDEA law is to make sure that everybody has a free and appropriate public education. Everybody knows that part. We use the words FAPE, or that shortened word, but FAPE, for shortcut, saying every child deserves FAPE, needs FAPE, is entitled to FAPE. That causes a lot of stress in special education. We're actually going to move on to the next 2 pieces in the purpose and findings of IDEA law, and that's to make sure that every child's unique needs are met and that they're prepared for further education, employment, and independent living. Now remember, I didn't make that up. That's the actual focus of the law. It's not to build an IEP so kids can be like other kids, so kids can keep up, so kids can do better on test scores, so kids can't, no. It's so a child can become an adult who is prepared for further education, employment, and independent living. I want every teacher to lean into that. When you're writing an IEP goal, they got to fall into these categories. Every parent who's going to write a parent input statement, I'm going to tell you what that is in just a minute. You got to be focused on further education, employment, independent living. This is not about just the umbrella of inclusion, or just the umbrella of writing a SMART goal, or just the umbrella of making sure that the child is getting their services. No, this is real stuff about making sure that we're preparing a student for further education, employment, and independent living. Lisa from Williston, North Dakota. Hello, hello. North Dakota is actually someplace I've never been. I need to get out there. So let's go ahead and talk about the first critical mistake that's happening right now. And that's old school parent input statements. Remember I said I don't want special education to go back to the way that was. I need special education to move forward for my brother's generation, for your child's generation, for your students in your classroom. We need forward movement in a whole new way. I know you feel stuck right now, but I promise you, there's so much that you can get done. And we're looking more closely at what has happened over the past year, and we're supposed to course correct that, right? We're supposed to fix it all. But again, we don't want to go backwards. So the way to go forwards is to really listen to the people who are going to be at every IEP meeting for this child, and that's a parent. Every IEP has a section for a parent input. It might be called parent educational concerns. It might just be called parent input. It might say parent vision statement. I don't care where you're at in the United States. If your child has an IEP, there's a place for the parent's voice. It belongs there. It needs to be there. It's legally supposed to be there. Now, most times, if you open up an IEP and you check out this parent input statement, it says things like, Mom has no concerns, or the parents are worried about the bus pickup time. It says really odd things that's not focused on further education, employment, independent living, or it's focused in a very narrow way. Like, Mom is worried that child does not know the sight words. You know what? The issue is bigger than this. The issue is that the parent is worried that the child's not going to have a functional behavior to be prepared for further education, independent living, and employment. The parent is worried that this communication, the vocabulary, the receptive, the expressive communication, that it's not there, that we're not moving forward. And that's where a parent input statement needs to be focused. If you're ready for a better parent input statement, if you're like, tell me more about how this parent input statement can literally shift the entire focus of a child's education and get it away from the nitty-gritty stuff that doesn't matter and move it into the bigger picture with very streamlined IEP goals to get there. If you're all in for that, make sure that you're clicking a like, that you're putting an emoji, that you're sharing a virtual high five, that you're all in for this, that you're tired of a parent's voice just being pushed to the side or not having a big impact. And I phrase it like that because we've got a lot of teachers that are watching. You know, I train teachers and parents. We are the only program, the Master IEP Coach mentorship, that says if you sit at an IEP table, you belong here. It doesn't matter if you're parent, teacher, admin, therapist. These are the strategies that you need to work together to change a child's future. Because if we're expected to work together at the IEP table, why are we not training together? We are inside of the Master IEP Coach mentorship. So these old school parent input statements need to be switched out and really fine-tuned to make sure that we're addressing the bigger picture of further education, employment, and independent living. Meredith has a great question. She says, they seem to switch up where they put the parent input. Does it matter? No, just get it in writing. Just make sure that the parent input statement is extremely clear and that we are addressing things like academics, communication, social emotional, behavior regulation, relationships, all of those things. And some of you guys just went, oh my gosh, all of that has to go in a parent input statement? Yes. Do you have to make a big hoopla over it and start calling IEP meetings? No, there's actually a very strategic way to do this. And teachers, you really want your parents to make sure that they are clear on this parent input statement, because teachers have a wide variety of goals to choose from. Remember, I was one, right? So let's just say that I have a second grader who has a significant deficit in reading comprehension, in reading fluency, all things reading. I've got a lot of choices to make in what kind of goal am I going to write as a teacher. Now, if I know in the parent input statement that the parent has submitted this written statement before the IEP meeting, hint, hint, again, strategy, there's ways to do this. Master IEP coaches love to help parents get a parent input statement submitted before the meeting. So the teacher then is like, okay, I have all these things that I could choose from, but the parent is really worried about this area of relationships and accessing the community when they're older. So what can we do in our reading goals to make sure that we're not just trying to close the gap between other second graders, because that's great, okay, that we're working to close a gap between same age peers. But we also have to keep the focus of making sure the child's prepared for the future and not always worried about what the other second graders are doing. We need to do what's best for this individual child to make sure that they're having this focus that the parent is worried about. And so the teacher then can go, okay, I know which goals I can choose that would both close the gap, move them closer to their same age peers, and address the concerns that the parent has of the child not having the communication skills to build relationships or the reading skills to access their community safely, or maybe the vocabulary to make sure that they can be independent in the school community. All of these things can be wrapped up into a parent input statement that can become a huge driver. So when I talked a few minutes ago about making sure that we don't slide backwards. Sliding backwards would mean that we're picking IEP goals to help a child keep up or close the gap with their same age peers without taking into consideration the huge piece that parents play in designing an IEP. And yeah, it should be a huge piece. In fact, I'm going to show you inside of the Master IEP Coach mentorship exactly how you can design an IEP for your own child or your own students and help others. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put down a link here. So when you're ready, you can go ahead and click on it. And you're going to want to make sure that you send me an email that says I get to. And I'm going to tell you what that means in just a minute. But first, I want to make sure that we get to this second critical mistake. So we've decided we're going to fix parent input statements. The second thing that we need to fix, which has become extremely just kind of in our face over this last 12 months, is accommodations and modifications without accountability are no longer acceptable. Absolutely not. So old school way of doing things was that we would have this page inside of the IEP. In fact, every IEP pretty much has this, okay? So they have a page and it says things like extra time on task, or a time for tests, or an extra set of books at home, or visual schedules. All different things that you can put into a child's IEP to make sure that they're accessing their environment, that they're supported, that they're working towards this independence, but it's all the little things that need to happen so we can work towards this independence. And there's a list. Very rarely does that list have on there who is going to be doing it. So you might have experienced this through the last, in fact, I would say probably over 90% of parents who have kids in special education have experienced the situation over the past 6 to 8 months that a worksheet has been sent home and has not been modified for the child. It's just a generic worksheet that was either sent home by the special education teacher to all the students. And you know what, in here, I'm not digging on special ed teachers. I'm saying, like, we've gotten thrown into the deep end and we're trying to figure this out. So, but if there's this worksheet that went home, or it's a worksheet that's sent home by the general education teacher and it's not modified at all. And there's a lot of struggle behind the scenes in special education of IEP teams not having the time to modify the worksheet according to what the IEP says. A lot of that is because it is assumed that the teacher will be doing all the modifications and accommodations on her own. We can actually delegate some of those out. Some of these modifications should be done by the regular education teacher. Some of them, if it's a modification for gym, should be done by the gym teacher or the art teacher. There can be responsibility of other people on the IEP team, and it doesn't have to all fall onto the special education teacher. But the only way that parents can help out their teachers and make this happen, or that teachers, you can get some of this off your workload, is to make sure that you're directly going to this accommodations and modifications page and you're making sure that it's delegated somewhere, whether it's right on that page or it's in the note section, or it's in the follow-up. We're going to make sure that everybody's doing their piece, and here's the pieces that need to get done. Accommodations and modifications as just a list of these things should be happening for a child is no longer acceptable. As we move forward, we need to make sure that you're confident, You are confident in who is doing what when it comes to creating the work, modifying the work, accommodating the environment for your child or for your student so they have everything that they need. One of the first things that would happen when a parent would send me their IEPs, and I'll tell you, I don't do that anymore because I'm training Master IEP coaches to do what I was doing for the last 2 decades, which means you have to become a Master IEP coach, and I'll show you exactly how to do this for yourself and for others. But I would look at the parent input statement when a parent was complaining about, like, these things aren't happening and the team's not hearing me. So the first thing is parent input statement. What does it say? That tells me how much the team is hearing a parent. And second would be accommodations and modifications. So for example, if a parent said, my child is always failing their math tests, I would go into this section, this accommodations and modifications, and I would see, is anything supposed to be modified? Are they maybe supposed to be taking the test in a small environment or quiet, alone, in a supervised small room kind of area? What are the accommodations and modifications? And I would ask the parent, are they modifying the test? Are the directions being read out loud? Is the child in a quiet area? If those things were listed on the IEP. Most of the time the parent would say, I don't know. And I'd say, okay, well, before we start tearing apart the IEP and saying this IEP doesn't work, you need to go ahead and get the answers to, is this happening, so we can figure out where the holes are in the IEP. There's a lot of holes in special education, right? Like, a lot of things just feel like they go on the wayside or they're just not followed through on. It's because there's a lot of pieces that are moving, and some are more important than others. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Meredith says, what is your email? Meredith, you can hop over and if you just go to my website, I'm going to put it in the comments right now. If you just go to katherinewicher.com, you'll see a contact about page, and you can hop over there and you'll be able to reach me. So that's our second one. First one is that we need to make sure we have awesome parent input statements that are focused on the big picture of further education, employment, independent living. The second thing is accommodations and modifications without accountability are no longer acceptable. We need to make sure that we're distributing this workload and we know who can be accountable for what needs to get done for each section, for each of these areas. The third thing that you need to make sure that you are doing, that you can fix pretty much immediately, is that you need to stop keeping the low priority IEP goals inside of that document. The IEP is never going to contain everything that a child is supposed to learn. Never. Like, you couldn't do that. You can't write an IEP big enough to encompass everything that a child is going to learn during the school day. Can't do it. But if you have, over the past 6 or 8 months, talked as a team and said, well, let's just put this goal over here so we can work on these other ones because these other ones feel more important, okay? You have started the process of prioritizing what is important as a team, assuming that you have that discussion between parents and teachers, okay? So you have to get on board as a team, and you have to start getting rid of the low priority IEP goals. You got to get rid of the 1980s version of special education of counting pennies, because that is not money management. That is not how we pay. I'm not paying a Target with pennies. I'm not paying for my DoorDash with pennies. No. Can a child learn pennies? Absolutely. Can they learn about all the penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters and counting the change? Sure, go for it. Should we be using a teacher's precious time and a child's precious time together to count penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters? Is that going to make or break their future in further education, employment, and independent living? No. And if anybody's telling me, well, what if they become a cashier? We can learn that skill as we get closer to that level of needing to know money down to the penny, okay? Now, there are other money management skills that are super important, greater than, less than. In other words, do you have enough money in the bank to cover what you're going to swipe your card for? We have estimating and rounding and multiplying, all the things. Think about how, whether you're shopping online or you're shopping in person, you're putting a whole lot of things in your cart. You're guesstimating some things about how much do you need. You're multiplying some things. Oh, there's 6 things in this package and I need 12, so I better buy 2 packages. There's all different ways that you're using money that is absolutely important. It becomes a priority. So never misunderstand me that when I say penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters are not a high priority IEP goal, that I don't want a child to learn money. 100% want them to learn as much as they can when it comes to money. But we don't need IEP goals to count pennies to get there, especially not in the beginning. So there's your 3 mistakes. Now, here's the thing. We have some strategies that I want to share with you. And I know that reaching your goal in special education, I'm talking about your goal. Your goal as a parent to make sure your child has an appropriate education and possibly even help other parents. Your goal as a teacher to make sure that you're doing the best that you can and you're feeling good, you're feeling confident about what you're doing. And in fact, you may even become a teacher mentor, or you might be helping parents on the side. And yes, that's possible to do without getting fired. I did it, okay? It's hard to reach those goals. So I'm gonna share with you that is, it's a statistic from, and I always have to pull out my little sticky note here to make sure I get the name right. The American Society of Training and Development, all right? So that's what this is. This is a training and development. This is just a little sneak peek overview of our Master IEP Coach mentorship. So they said if you are working towards a goal, so as a teacher, as a parent, if you are working towards a goal of doing better at your role at the IEP table and going beyond the IEP table, when you make a commitment to something, you are 65% more likely to get there. So what that means is if you are to enroll in the Master IEP Coach mentorship, you are 65% more likely to reach that goal than somebody who doesn't, who wants to get better, but they don't enroll in something. They don't make the commitment to say, let's do this, all right? But if you have an appointment for accountability with somebody to work on that goal together, you are 95% more likely to reach your goal. When I saw that statistic, I was like, no way. I love it. Okay, so I'm kind of a research nerd. I love it. You have to be. If you love special education, you got to know some of the details behind how to reach goals and how to learn and how to get there the best way that you can. What's going to give us the best success rate? So if you have an appointment for accountability, you are 95% more likely to reach that goal, which is exactly why. Remember I said you got to know the phrase, I get to, okay? I get to is that because you're here, because you are watching live, because you showed up, you're going to sign up to become a Master IEP Coach, and then you're going to email me and say, I get to. And you're not just going to get the one bonus session that's already listed on the sign up page, but you're going to get a second one for accountability. So you have a 95% chance, like you could be up there reaching the goals. Finally, the things that you've been trying to do, but everything else gets in the way. I'm going to help you be accountable to whatever that goal is. Again, if you're a parent who wants to do better for your child, and then you want to help other parents, you're a teacher who wants to do better at the IEP table and then help other teachers or parents and making sure that IEPs are doing things like preparing a child for further education, employment, independent living. I'm going to give you 2 appointments to make sure that you are 100% on the path to your best year ever in special education. That you're no longer doing it alone, that you're not figuring this stuff out on your own. I'm going to teach you strategies. In fact, let me go ahead and share one with you. I'm going to teach you a strategy that is super simple. And as simple as it looks, I promise you, the impact is huge. So many times I've had a client that has reached out to me, and right now I have clients that are reaching out to Master IEP coaches left and right. They're hiring them for help, and they're like, my district's not hearing me. But knowing this extremely simple format of how to write a 1-page letter that has key trigger words in it with 3 to 5 bullet points and an impactful closing statement such as, if the team disagrees with any of the requests, we respectfully request data to be provided in writing with complete reasoning to support the team's decision. Meaning that we're not causing conflict. We're actually saying, hey, these are the requests that we have. This was part of a request for an additional assessment and some assistive technology help, okay? So we're asking like, hey, can we do these things? And if your answer is no, please tell us why. Okay? So this strategy And I'll break down each piece of this because there's key words that are really intertwined throughout this that when an administrator gets it, they go, oh, all right, we got to get on top of this. We need to really start to work with this family and make sure that we are getting everything addressed that we need to make sure that we are really looking at this as a team effort with data to make decisions and that we're being held accountable for the recommendations that we're making. It's a big deal, guys. And it's amazing to see the results from somebody who perhaps wasn't getting anywhere in their communication with the IEP team, get a response within 24 to 48 hours to help move their child's education forward. And I'll tell you, teachers, this is not a letter that throws you under the bus. This is something that you want to get really proficient at to make sure that you, and I'm looking at Neri's question that we're gonna get there, to make sure that we're all on the same page and moving forward. Let's see, can I give you an answer about the question that has been asked about parent input statement? Neri, I already answered that in the beginning, so you can scroll back to that. Bottom line is, as long as the parent input statement is in writing, and in fact, I'm gonna teach you how to write a parent input statement in this format of a parent advocacy letter to make sure that it's not only included into the IEP, but it also goes into your child's file in a very proactive, positive way, that it's not just a lost email of your opinion of what should be included, but it becomes a significant part of the IEP. Again, you can get the full training over at, there's a link here right below that says katherinewicher.com/Master IEP Coach enrollment. And you can hop over there and join us for the February class. There is something that I need to tell you guys, that the, let me go ahead and stop screen sharing this one. This is the last Master IEP Coach mentorship of the school year because we're all going to be super busy during IEP season. And I have current Master IEP coaches who have taken the course, who have clients, who have school districts they're working with, they have families that they're working with, and I'm going to be guiding them through IEP season and all the things that they need to do to create change in their community. We're going to have new Master IEP coaches. That could be you. When you sign up and you take the February class, it's 5 weeks. In fact, here, I can show you a little bit more. I'll give you a little sneak peek. When you click on that link, you will see this. And you're going to really dive into what your most critical areas are for special education. This is, oh, Neri, I do see your question. I hear what you're saying. My question is, can they change it? As in, can they change your parent input statement? Here, I love answering your guys' questions. Neri says, my question was in writing, but the question is, can they change it? A parent input statement should not be changed without your knowledge. So if you write it in a formal way, so Neri, just remind me, have you already taken the Master IEP Coach mentorship? If you have not, then you'll want to get into the February session. If you have, because you get lifetime access to everything, go hop over into the Get It in Writing section of the Master IEP Coach mentorship. You can go rewatch that training. You can get access to all of the templates, and you'll see that once you get it in the format that I just did a preview of, it becomes part of your child's file. So even if it's summarized in the IEP, the full statement is there. Now, no, they should not be changing the parent input statement. So Neri says, that's what I thought. Thanks. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So this Become a Master IEP Coach, this is the mentorship. And I just want to walk you through real quick. If you guys have further questions, please go ahead and put those below. I will make sure to answer as many as I can as we are here live. And then, of course, I'll be following up. And don't forget, if you do click on the link that's down in the comments, because you are here, make sure you email me and say, I get 2, because I want to make sure that you get your 2 one-on-one coaching sessions with me so I can help you make a difference in special education. So when we look at this Master IEP Coach page, I wrote you a little letter there, but I want to actually today share with you a couple of stories. One is about Alex. Alex is really supporting the twice exceptional community. So those are gifted students who have areas that they struggle in. And she's fulfilling her passion of helping IEP teams work collaboratively and build inclusion for every child. So I'm super excited to help her in this area. That's an area that if I was doing this on my own, I can't, I can't be everywhere at once, right? Can't help everybody at the same time. But when you become a Master IEP coach, I know that when I have somebody who contacts me and they're like, hey, I have this twice exceptional student, or I'm working on inclusion for my student, for my child, and I can give referrals to our Master IEP coaches so they can get the help that they need. So we also have here Angela. Angela West Brown has been hired by the Georgia State University IDEAL program as a Master IEP coach to create a training for students with intellectual disabilities and their parents. Here's what I want you to know about Angela West Brown. Angela West Brown is not a typical Master IEP coach in the way that she's taking one-on-one clients and working with families. She does that sometimes, but she's also extremely active in partnering with other programs that already exist in the community, like programs at colleges, programs through the Department of Human Services, programs that are already established that need the expertise of how to transition a child out of the school system and into the real world. That's her area of expertise. I love watching her impact grow in that area. The next person that we have is, this is Nicole. And Nicole she reminds me of myself, and I love to see her really support parents by sitting at the IEP table. I did that for a long time. And she had an administrator actually chase her out of the meeting, basically, and not in a bad way. They chased her and they're like, hey, like, we've never seen this approach, this strategy that you were able to really help the parent's voice be heard and help get everything that the parents wanted for the child. But it was collaborative. And yeah, there's tough conversations at the IEP table, but they don't have to end by burning bridges and threatening things like due process and all those other ugly things that happen in special education. You can get through some of the toughest situations with these collaborative strategies. And now she actually gets referrals from the schools. So schools will tell the parents, hey, we can't help you. Because let's just face it, there's only so much that a school can do for a parent. The parent has to learn how to speak up. The parent has to know what to ask for. We can't help you. But if you go to Nicole, I bet you she can help you. So Nicole is a Master IEP coach who loves to take on those situations where we need really creative solutions of what needs to happen next for a child. When you hop over to that link, you'll see all the different modules that you're going to get access to for a lifetime. You're going to find out how everything is structured. You're going to see all the swag bonuses and different just perks that are included in the mentorship. You're going to meet Courtney, who has been with me since the very beginning of the Master IEP Coach mentorship. And then you're also going to see the picture of the certificate and of the t-shirt that you're going to get, because we all love a little swag. So if you guys have any questions about the Master IEP Coach mentorship, please remember to reach out and ask me. I'm going to be doing these free trainings every Tuesday. I'm going to be going over these 3 critical IEP mistakes. I'm going to be talking about the Master IEP Coach mentorship because it is an amazing result when you see a group of parents, teachers, admins, and therapists working together with collaborative strategies that have been proven to work. You guys, I'm giving you everything that I've done for over 20 years, and I package it up for you, and I deliver it to you in a way that some is pre-recorded, some is live. Everything that's live gets recorded, so it's going to fit into your busy schedule. It's going to be with you for a lifetime. You're going to be able to use this information in whatever your current role is, and you can even change your role at the IEP table by becoming a Master IEP Coach. I want to thank you guys for absolutely believing that special education can change. We're seeing it change. And just remember, we do not have to go back to the way that special education was. We 100% can create a better future in special education, but it's going to take you and it's going to take others all working towards, towards, I see Meredith there, towards this common goal of making sure that every child is prepared for further education, employment, independent living. And Meredith, I just want to absolutely confirm with you that yes, you are going to have recordings of everything. We have people in different countries that take this. Everybody's in different time zones. Everybody has a different role. So I have a variety of different live events to try to make it accessible for you to show up to at least a couple of the live events, but everything's recorded and posted within about 24 or 48 hours where you can fully participate in real time, but your own time during those 5 weeks. And then you get to keep everything forever. So if you miss anything, you need to catch up, you've had a tough week, you get it. So you're not going to lose anything. You have to remember, I am a special needs sibling. I was a special education teacher, and I've been doing this for 25-ish years, which means that I know what life looks like. And I built this for the busiest people I know, and that's parents, teachers, admins, and therapists in special education. So Meredith, I'm looking forward to working with you. Don't forget to tell me I get 2. So I make sure that you are on the schedule. So we have our 2 one-on-one coaching sessions, and I can help you get everything that you need out of the Master IEP Coach mentorship. All right, everyone, that's all for today. I cannot wait to work with you inside of the mentorship.